Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining us from. My name is Elsbeth McSorley, and I am the marketing manager for Mega International, our North American operations. Thank you so much for taking time to join us today. We are thrilled to have a great group on the line. Today we'll be focusing on business critical applications and ensuring business resiliency during a time of crisis. So, as you all know, very, very timely these days. And speaking of that, we hope everyone on the line is safe and well, and we obviously send our best to everyone's families. Before we go on, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. We would love it if you put your questions into the questions box on the GoToWebinar panel. Feel free throughout the presentation to, put in a question whenever it comes to you, but we will be holding off and answering all questions at the end of the presentation. But again, we invite you to add them in as you think of them. So now I would love to introduce you to your presenters today. You're in excellent hands. We have Yannick Rudloff. He is the VP and Managing Director of Mega North America. And we also have Nicholas Hatfield. He is our pre-sales engineer. So yeah, these are your presenters. And I would at this point like to hand it over to Yannick, and I will let him get going. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. It's a pleasure to be here with you today and to introduce you to this topic at hand, that is how we will be able to manage, I would say, the continuity, the resiliency of companies in times of crisis using enterprise architecture. This is what we're going to tackle today. Of course, if you have any questions that you would like to address during the presentation, you can use the GoToMeeting question feature that should appear here on your I would say GoToMeeting panel that you have on your screen. So you can use that, ask us as many questions as you want during the call, and we will be able to tackle them at the end of this session. All right, what I would like to do at first and really quickly as a forward, I would like to introduce you a bit Mega International. Many of you maybe do not know us today. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, but just for you to know that we are a software vendor. We've been here for 25 years on the market, so of enterprise architecture and governance, risk, and compliance. This is very important for us. We have a lot of experience, and we enjoy a position being, I would say, in 52 countries, present in 52 countries, sorry, and having more than 2,000 enterprise customers of Mega today that we help building EA practices. And also these customers help us also build a very, very good solution that helps EAs all along the world. Over the last couple of years, we've enjoyed a very good position from Gartner point of view and from Forrester. So of course, we are very proud of being leaders on those waves for enterprise architecture. But the greatest pride for us is to be recognized by our customers. And here on the right side, you can see that we have been selected by our customers' choice for EA tools in 2020. This is a great pride that we have at Mega. That being said, I would like to introduce you to the topic that we have at hand today. So today we are going to talk about how enterprise architecture, how IT portfolio management will help you to, I would say, build a solid, resilient enterprise architecture practice, and to help you to go through many crises, through many disruptions, through many, I would say, points that you're going to see in the next couple of months, years, and so on, as we can see today. We have a kind of a snapshot that I found very interesting from Gartner that said that, of course, in a time of crisis like this, there is a big focus on new procedures, on new ways of working, but more than half of the HR leaders, they said that it was the poor technology or infrastructure that was the biggest barrier to working effectively remotely. So this was very important for us to understand, and this is a key point that I wanted to state before going into the topic at hand today. And today, of course, we're going to see how EA, application portfolio management, also can help to solve those issues. This slide also, I found it very interesting because this, I would say, was really related to what we've seen with our customers today and how we help them tackle this COVID situation. So this is a slide from McKinsey that said that basically there are five steps here that will help you, I would say, go from a crisis mode to a reform to a way of working that has been reimagined within the company. And we see a lot of companies that have gone through the first two steps, being able to resolve at first hand to understand what are the problems that we have related to COVID. In terms of workforces, in terms of customers, in terms of technologies, in terms of business partners. How do we do to become resilient? How do we address the cash management issues? How do we return to normal? How do we scale our company to face that issue right now? And how do we scale the company to really be prepared for that and continue growing in the market? And of course, when you have resolved this particular issue, of course, you have to reimagine the way you work, the way your procedures, your processes are working right now, your IT is working also, and to be able to reform your company to address these challenges in the future. So we see a lot of companies right now tackling the resolve to return to normal, I would say, situation right now. But of course, it is very important to take into account the fact that after the crisis, you might also go into a new way of thinking and reforming the way you do business. And this is what this slide was about. And I think that this hits quite the point when we talk about COVID right now. So what I would like to share with you today is to help you understand how enterprise architecture using mega HOPEX will help you resolve those issues right there. So this is something that we do for a living, right, in EA. So we've been doing that for years with our companies to help them become resilient. So at first, we see three main phases when we address, I would say, EA in companies. We see readiness, in which we help you create baseline for processes, baseline for IT assets, baseline for technology monitoring. We will see that in a minute. We see a resiliency phase, where we will be able to identify the critical application. So for instance, when you're in a crisis mode, what kind of application are non-critical? Which one do you have to focus on and which one are less important than the other one? So this is very important to depict. And of course, you can also have some kind of use case where you might say that you need to bring back some applications that are in the cloud, that you need to bring them back in-house because you want to make sure that they're going to work. And this also EA will help you identify right there. Of course, in that resiliency phase, we have what we call the monitoring IT resiliency phase, in which we will be able to use dashboards provided by HOPEX to create views such as, what is my vendor dependency? For instance, we are reliant on Microsoft Azure or Amazon or something like this, or some companies like this. Are we sure that if those companies are really hit hard by a crisis, and maybe they are going to be sometimes a little bit, I would say, difficult to work with, or we're going to have some problems with them, do we know which one of our applications are reliant on those technologies or on those vendors, and to understand what's going to be the impact on my company? And of course, at the end, the main point is really to be able to reimagine the business, to reimagine how your business should work as new market conditions. So to be able to understand how we can build new target operating models to be able to sustain and to be able to grow even in those times of crisis right there. So this is how EA can help in times of crisis like this, to identify the crisis, to understand what are the key applications that are going to be critical or not, address the near-term challenges, to stay on business, and when the crisis has ended, to drive innovation to grow. So today in this demonstration, we are going to see how HOPEX can help you automate data collection to do inventory for your IT portfolio, applications, technologies, link that back to capabilities, link it to critical processes. So to understand basically how we will be able to grab all of this information to depict your company. We'll be able to understand how we can mitigate risk arising from technology obsolescence, to understand if something happens in the technology side, what is the impact on my applications. We're going to be able to identify the applications supporting critical capabilities, identify which applications, what is the impact of shutting down non-critical applications, of course, and we'll be able to understand today also how we can create dashboard to focus on resiliency. What kind of application should I focus on in those moments to ensure resiliency of my company? So before going to the next stage of this presentation, I have just a question to ask you, and it's time for a poll right now. So we've seen a lot of things on the market, and we hear a lot of reasons why companies are managing their IT portfolio better. It can be the cost, it can be a focus on critical application, it can be a crisis, or it can be a lot of, I would say, old technologies that are gone obsolete. So the point that I would like to do now is to ask you to participate in this poll, to tell us a little bit in your company how you see that. So you should see now on your screen the poll that has been displayed. So you should be able to discuss that. We will just let you answer that in a couple of seconds right there, and we'll be able to take the answers in a couple of seconds. Don't be shy there. You can mention all of the above. Of course, this is this is something that happens a lot of the time. But of course, I just want to have, I would say, your opinion on how you see that in your company. All right, I see that we have already a couple of answers there. I'm just going to leave that for a couple of seconds still. All right. All right, I think that most of you have answered the questionnaire. I'm going to close it right now. All right. Thank you very much for participating in that poll. So for the answers, let me just share that with you right there. All right. So for 8% of you, the costs were too high. Indeed, this is a great opportunity for us to manage the application portfolio. Accumulation of tech and all technologies and risk of technologies. This is clearly something that is a big topic that we see with customers today as being one of the key challenges for managing portfolios. And all of the above, yes, this is a very common answer too. Those three use cases that we see right there are the one that we see a lot when we deal with a new project in ITPM at Mega. So the point that I would like to say to you here is that we see a lot of focus when we a lot of use cases and focused use cases when we talk about those topics with customers. Talking about costs going too high, Mega, HOPEX with EA and ITPM can help you understand where you have growing IT maintenance costs. This is very important. So at Mega, we help companies understanding the cost of IT by grabbing the application cost within our software, and to help to map it to capabilities and to contextualize this cost within capabilities. This is very important. That means that at some point you will be able to understand your critical capability to your less critical capability, let's say it like that, and to understand what is the cost of your IT per criticality. Because if you have cost per application, of course, it's gonna be nice to understand what is the most important and the most important application in terms of cost for your IT. But the most important thing that we have here is to be able to contextualize within your business. This is very important. When we talk about accumulating lots of texts and accumulating risks on those texts, this is also something that we will be able to tackle, and we'll see that with the demonstration of Nick today. So we will be able at Mega to understand how many applications are using obsolete technologies, understand what is the risk of obsolescence of those technologies, understands the vulnerabilities of those technologies to understand which kind of applications are at risk, and then to understand which kind of capabilities, business capabilities are at risk there. So this is something that we'll be able to map and to do analysis on when we use Mega. And of course, also that is something that is really important also is identify critical applications based on your business capability, and to be able to identify those critical applications, to know that you need to free up bandwidth and resources for those critical applications, especially during this crisis time, and to have clarity on, are those critical applications in-house, on the cloud? Can we move them back in-house if this is critical for me to have them in-house right now? Or for instance, also to be able to understand that non-critical applications, maybe you can move them to the cloud maybe quickly to free up resources when it comes to bandwidth and resources on applications. So these are the three main use cases that we see with our customers when we do ITPM, but we have also a lot of other use cases that can be addressed, such as lack of application flexibility, understanding interrelationship and complexity of application to understand how applications are related to each other and so on. This is very important. We might also understand aging technologies. So how much technologies do we have, and how old are they today? So this is very important for us. Application and maintenance costs, we talked about that. IT systems that are underperforming, we can, with HOPEX, assess your IT systems and understand which one are not performing at the level you would expect them to perform. And we can also reduce the cost of IT by analyzing redundant applications due to M&A. That happens a lot with companies when we discuss to customers right now. So these are all, I would say, use cases that we address with OPEX, and I'm sure that you recognize your companies in some of those. Do not hesitate to research us, to ask us more about those use cases. We'll be more than happy to help you on this. One point that is very important for us when we talk about EA these days is that we are a bit of a shift when it comes to EA. So we've helped companies over the years to do EA, and we see a big trend coming these days is that EA has to prove value all the time. Enterprise architect has to be there to say, this is how I help the business with my work. So we kind of made an opposition here, but it's not really an opposition. It can also be, I would say, kind of a switch, of a shift at some point of EA in the traditional sense here, is that we see EA as sometimes perceived as a manual kind of lengthy process focused on inventory and diagrams. And yes, this is something that we hear from our customers. What we help our customers to do right now is to help them focus on outcome-driven enterprise architecture, something that is going to be automated, collection of data automated, and not to input all the applications manually within the solutions, for instance. Having fast time to value. At HOPEX, we provide playbooks at Mega, sorry, we provide playbooks to help you on HOPEX to build fast time to value. These playbooks have been built with real customer use case focused. So this is something that we have built with customers, and something that we can share experience to help companies build an outcome-driven enterprise architecture. And of course, this is important because based on those enterprise architecture practices that we provide, we have a measurable ROI. So you can prove to your company that EA is a business enabler at the end of the day, and that you're not just not there to keep track of the applications, the processes, and so on, that you actually show value to the business. This is very important for us. At Mega, and this is something that we are actually unique on the market right now, we are here to help companies doing business process management, risk management, enterprise architecture, and data governance. And in enterprise architecture, I include also, of course, IT portfolio management. And so this is something that we do on one single platform. This is very important to have the full picture of your enterprise architecture in one and only platform, so that at the end of the day, you can link your risk management to your technology view, your data management to your risk view, and your business processes to your data view, for instance. So this will give you the big picture, the full picture of IT, data, business, and risk to build all the dashboards that you need to be a business enabler. This is a screenshot that, of course, you will see also in a minute within the demonstration that Nick will give us and has prepared for us. But this is a sample of dashboard that we'll be able to build within HOPEX. And you can see here, for instance, these kinds of dashboards in which you will be able to find out which are your top 10 most expensive applications, your applications ranked by business value, by technical efficiency, your application by age. So this is the kind of dashboards that you can expect when you use Mega HOPEX to support your shift to be a business enabler and to help your company in those situations such as a crisis situation in which you will be able to understand which are your applications that are the most valuable from the business side and that you will need to maintain in those crisis moments. I talked about automating collection of data in HOPEX. This is very important for us, and HOPEX is an open, I would say, platform, and we get that question a lot from our customers, from our prospects. How can I do to link Mega HOPEX to my CMDB, to my production system, to my agile system, and so on? So here you have, I would say, a picture of all the different connections that we have built with customers, or that also are plug and play when you use Mega. So for instance, we can directly plug with Flexera, Technopedia, we can plug with Microsoft Office, with a CMDB like ServiceNow, and so on. So we can directly plug with them to get the data in and to start working on real data. So it's not a lengthy process to build EA, but you can kind of shortcut the inventory phase and start working on what is important for EAs. Now, this is key for us to get the data in when we start the process of enterprise architecture. Something that is very important for us is that Mega is simple, intuitive, and web-based. So the main point that we hear also from EA all around the world, and we have a lot of experience on that today, is that sometimes EA can be seen as cumbersome, seen as difficult or too rich to be able to enable a good collaboration and teamwork within the company. So at HOPEX, we've understood that, and we are working on this a lot. So we enable our customers through a full web-based and HTML5 compliant tool that can be based on SaaS or on-prem as you would like. And we are working a lot of having intuitive, simple UX that are driving stronger adoption and democratization of EA. The key point of enterprise architecture, and when we are working on this with customers, is that we need to have adoption. We need to have adoption of enterprise architecture of all the company, of all the stakeholders within the company. So this is what we allow through the tool that we have to allow collaboration. We have social features, workflow that will help customers drive adoption of EA within their companies. So this is what I would what I wanted to tell you as I would say a starter from this presentation to understand how EA can help in crisis mode by doing inventories of application, making sure that we focus on critical application, and making sure that we have a good handle on if I need to decommission, if I need to do some choices. This is going to be the impact that we have on our IT landscape. So right now, I would like to give the hand to Nick Hatfield, who is our pre-sales engineer today on the call, that will walk you through within HOPEX the way that we have to manage all of that within our platform. So I'm just gonna give the presentation to Nick. All right, and Nick, up to you
Great.
to walk us through that.
Yes. Just one moment, I will share my screen. All right, very good. Thank you for the introduction, Yannick, and thanks again to all of our attendees for making time for us today. I thought you did a really good job setting this up, Yannick. I really do appreciate that. What we are going to focus on in this demonstration of HOPEX was one of the slides right in the middle, creating a baseline, so understanding what your inventory of IT assets looks like, focusing on key applications, so doing analysis and prioritization on applications that you already have, setting up a system to actually monitor all of these changes and everything that you're doing in your repository, and then of course, reimagining your business. So we do enterprise architecture, IT portfolio management every day. With the pandemic situation, it's changed people's thoughts and views about what readiness and preparedness actually means. So we're taking what we normally do with IT portfolio management, except we're looking at it through the lens of something I'm going to call, and what I've seen referred to on other places as forced transformation. So companies have to allow their employees to work remotely for the first time. How do you do that? How do you understand what kind of applications you have? Also, if, as Yannick said, if you have an application that's in the cloud, but it's highly business critical and you have extreme SLAs on it, how do you evaluate that? But then also, how do you take it one step further to understand the dependencies? Because sometimes some applications or assets might not appear to have a lot of value, except they're actually fueling a lot of the data, a lot of the information that you're using in other business critical applications. So those are going to be the three areas that we focus on here as I demonstrate over the next 15 or 20 minutes. So what you can see on your screen right here is our home screen. And what we're going to do is look at a particular portfolio first. So a portfolio can be a subset of applications grouped together really for any reason, but for here we want to think about these applications as using some kind of cloud technology. So we'll say Azure. So we're grouping together some of these applications that are all dependent on Microsoft Azure technology. So they're up in the cloud, and we need to evaluate these applications to make sure that's where they should be. So what you see right here is our application portfolio management screen. It's loosely based on Excel. I just scrolled over there. You can see things about the price or the cost, capital expense versus operational expense. You can also send out assessments to collect very specific pieces of information, maybe the business value, the functional support, the technical efficiency. And then just like a tool like Excel, you can filter that way. So if I only want to view applications that have poor business value, I can go about it that way. If I want to view with poor and good to get a range, I can do that as well. But really the idea here is to collect data, to collect information that's important about these applications. So with HOPEX, you can absolutely crowdsource that. As I mentioned, you can send out assessments. You can also do something called a data call, where you're requesting specific pieces of information. Maybe you want a cost line or a technology updated for an application. What I just clicked to right here is to look at a workflow. So this is a workflow that's already in progress, and we're looking at it through our collaboration tab. So every object, any application in the repository has collaboration features. So from here, I can view the workflows. So it's plain to see that we're awaiting some type of approval here. We made an update. Okay, fantastic. How do we get more out of this? The activity feed is going to show me every change that I've made to this application. So you can see on Friday, I connected a new technology, and then even yesterday, I needed to update the SLA level. So the idea here, creating a baseline, we're getting these important pieces of data, important pieces of information. We're sending assessments to the subject area specialists, so the people that know it best, and then we're asking them to make sure that everything looks the way that it should. On top of that, you can even add, so we'll say everything looks great here. You can add review notes. And all of this can be shared within this tab right here. So if you scroll down, we can see that we had an administrator leave a note with an update about a specific application deployment. So that's how we can crowdsource. That's how we can get assessments. That's how we keep things up to date. It's also important to drill down on our applications and see what more data points that we have available. So what I'm doing here is looking at a specific application ID card. This is our billing application. So we've got different pieces of information like the name, the code, and application type. You can see if it's a cloud computing. So we know we've got a platform as a service that we're using here. So all of these data points, they are stored in the repository. We're just recalling it here. So you can connect to things like business capabilities or different business processes, so if an application goes down, you can see which processes are affected or which capability might suffer because of that. Responsibility is where you can put data points about the application owner. Technologies, this shows all the technologies that it's dependent on. So you can see that ASP.NET 4.5 that I had just added from our review notes. Further down, we have lifecycle information about our application. So I can scale out and I can drill down and see exactly when this billing application progresses from preparation into production and into retirement. Obviously, this is going to help us plan ahead, especially when you start looking at conflicts, which we will look at in just a moment. On each application, we provide reporting, of course. I'm just going to go to our reporting tab. The first thing we're going to see here is very powerful when it comes to understanding dependencies. So I very quickly walked you through some of the data points on the ID card. One that I did not mention, but is there, is data flows. So what we are visualizing here, so we have our billing application in the center of our graph, and then all the other applications that it's exchanging data with. So our CRM Europe, this booking management application. In our ID card, we can connect and add other applications, say if it's being sent and received, and then on this screen, we are just viewing that automatically generated. You can even see what kind of content is being exchanged. So I know that I've got a piece of content called order, so there's some order information that's being exchanged, or one that looks really important, such as credit card information. So then I can look at this and I know that if something were to happen with this billing application, and based on this dependency with this account management, this billing information, this credit card information could potentially be compromised. So this goes beyond just thinking about times of forced transformation. It can also get into thinking about threats to your applications as well. If I scroll down, you can see we've got another graph based on where this application is actually deployed. So we've got our same billing application here, but we can see that it's deployed in a couple of different continents. So we've got the USA, we've got Europe, and you can also see who's using it. So we have a sales group that uses this billing application, and we have the name of a server. So again, understanding the impact, you can generate tables, matrices, if you prefer to visualize information that way, but you can also have a report like this that can then be saved and then put onto a dashboard to help with that third step of monitoring our IT resiliency. So these are some of the key pieces of data on our applications. We can see business capabilities, business processes, and technologies linked as well. It's also really important, I hinted at this a few moments ago, when we think about our application lifecycle and what technologies connect to it, what happens when we have an obsolete technology? Is there a way to view that information as well? So now we're looking at our Gantt chart with conflicts. So when you think about an application, every application has some sort of technology, software technology as an underpinning that's supporting it. So here we're looking at obsolescence. We've got our billing application, it's the same Gantt chart as earlier, and we have a conflict period. So if I just highlight over that, I can see that near the end of the life cycle of this application, that there's going to be a conflict with this .NET framework. So at the end of this life cycle, we're going to have to make a decision. Are we going to continue to use this obsolete, potentially vulnerable technology? Are we okay with that? Is that a risk that's fine with us? Or is it time to bring a new technology in? Perhaps we're planning on replacing this billing application altogether. Furthermore, you can view the other life cycles of technologies from this view as well. So not only do we have our .NET framework listed out, but we've also got this Internet Explorer, Office 2010, and this Oracle object listed as well. So these are the data points for creating your baseline. And while this is powerful, this is only focused on one application. You can also take a higher view and look at these reports from a portfolio view. So I just clicked back to our portfolio. We're still looking at our subset of applications here relying upon Microsoft Azure technology. And what we're going to do is click to the reports that we have available here. I've shown you a lot of visuals. So for some of the engineers and different types of folks out there, a table makes more sense. So like I said, you can visualize it this way as well. So we've got our application. We can see who's using it. We can also see the dependencies on business process. So we know if the CRM in Europe were to have some kind of issue or some kind of failure, these processes are going to be affected. Technologies, business lines, business capabilities, and then even where it's deployed. So instead of just looking at one application, we are zooming out and we can, in one view, look at the dependencies of all of our applications within this portfolio. So this is great, but this only shows one part of the scenario here. We want to dig down a little bit deeper, and what we're going to look at is a business capability map breakdown. So I've got a couple of parameters assigned to this, and we'll get there in just a moment. So you can, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so it's a little bit easier to visualize here. So we have our business capability map, and then it's comprised of several different sub-capabilities. And then you can drill down these sub-capabilities even further if you like. I've got a couple of different layers here. And you can see some functionalities that support them, but what we're really interested in are the applications that support our business capabilities. I can unfold all of the items, and I can view all of my applications at once. So let's look at these parameters over here. Right now, I just want to evaluate the business value. So we're thinking about the criticality of an application, green meaning that it's good, red meaning that it's poor, so it's low business value up to high. And then we're also thinking about the SLA level. So how critical have we decided that this application be available, that it be up and running? For us, anything past orange is going to say that this is something that the business absolutely, is something that we need. The SLA level is high. This needs to be online. This needs to be available. And obviously, if it's critical, something like a payroll application or something like that would be marked as critical. So I'm going to zoom down a little bit here, drill down a little bit here to look at our capability map. So the application color is signifying the business value. And then over here, we're looking at the SLA. So you can see that our billing application, high value, and it also is very critical. The same can be said for our mycompany.com. We have a very critical SLA on this mycompany.com application, and it brings a high business value. So earlier, when we were thinking about focusing on our key applications, do we have an application that's in the cloud that maybe we want to bring back on-prem? When I look at this, I can say to myself, perhaps this mycompany.com is a great example of that. It needs to be available. I can see that it has a high SLA level, very high business value. It connects to this capability of provider request, which is very important to our business and the overall success of our business. So far, we've looked at creating a baseline, so some of the key data points. We focused on some of our key applications. Now, in the next 5 minutes or so, we're going to focus on how to monitor IT resiliency. So we looked at the dashboards in Yannick's slide. I'm just going to click here and navigate to my dashboard that I built out. Slightly different, a couple different reports on here, but I think you'll get the idea. So we looked at something like application cost, for instance. So I've got this application total cost of ownership. So we're looking at over a period of time from 2020 to 2025, broken down by service or software license. What's the total cost of these applications looking ahead? You can configure this however you like. If you want it to focus on a particular portfolio, you can do that. If you want to look at all of the applications in your whole ecosystem, you can do that as well. Yannick did mention top 10 most expensive applications. And again, it is important to note these are all dynamic. You can interact with these. You probably saw me moving some things around. These are not static reports by any means. Everything that you see here is generated dynamically and on the fly each time, so you have the most accurate, most up-to-date information. Another report is this total cost of ownership by business line. So I've got 2 business lines that I'm evaluating, the relationship between application to business line. Again, the total cost over a period of time. Over here is a vendor dependency report. So with this one, I can look at all the applications that are using a particular vendor technology. So you can see Microsoft, 40%. So if we click on that, we can already tell from the 40% that we're very reliant on Microsoft technologies. But if we click on our pie graph there, we can get a list of all the applications. So these are all the applications that are using that Microsoft technology. So what I'm going to do next is generate an instant report. You could do this on that the global application portfolio management screen if you wanted to do it there. These reports are always available, and there's several different options. You can get a breakdown. You could create another exchange graph if you wanted to. I'm going to do a matrix. I like matrix. I think it's really easy to get information out of them quickly. And again, we're looking at business criticality and then dependencies. So these applications we know are dependent upon Microsoft technology. If there's an outage, if there's an issue, if there's downtime with Microsoft, with Azure, we can quickly see which applications are going to be affected by that. But then we can take it one step further very quickly with an instant report, or we could save this report to our dashboard and see which business processes will actually be affected. So if our mycompany.com website application were to fail, we know that this process in procurement is going to have some issues. And then from there, it's very easy to click and drill down and then start to understand where some more of these dependencies might exist. I know I've only got about 2 or 3 more minutes here, but I do want to show you 2 more reports. We'll just add one just to see how that works. We've got this dendrogram. It's very nice as well. So I just added a widget to our screen here, and then I'm going to maximize it. And I like this one, and it's very popular with our customers because you can really get a great visualization very quickly. So we're looking at a capability map. So this is similar to the breakdown. We're just looking at it another way. So we can see we've got our same core capabilities that you saw a few minutes ago. I'm going to continue to move things down, and then it continues to branch off. So we've got some sub capabilities. We've got an application. Here we can see we've got several different applications that support this customer request capability. And you can drill down, so you can go as far as you like. If you want to stop there, that's fine. But we can even look at database, and we can look at the data available in a database. So then we know if this application relying on Microsoft technology, if we need to move this back on-prem away from the cloud, we're going to have to think about these databases. We're going to have to think about these pieces of data and how they're exchanged, but then also upstream, what other business capabilities are going to be affected. And finally, I have an all application flows stored to my dashboard as well. So we looked at the graph that saw data flows between different applications or application to capability, technology. This one is taking all of the applications in my repository and it's showing me the relationship. So if I zoom out, you can see we've got a lot of disconnected applications floating around, but we also have a lot of applications that are exchanging data with one another. This is very interesting. Again, we can add those filters that I showed you earlier. So we have the content. If I only want to see a particular piece of data that's being exchanged, I can add that filter. You can watch the data flow lines disappear. Everything readjusts a little bit, and then we are only viewing the billing information again. We can remove our filters, go back to this view, looking at dependencies, all great. Another really nice way of visualizing this is by just clicking over to this 3D view. So we've got a series of different nodes and applications. So it's just visually, you can look at this and really see what pockets of information we have going on. So even here, I don't need a report to tell me that, okay, there's a lot of interaction going on with this billing application, but then also this reporting app right here also funnels into this billing application as well and has other applications downstream, such as this report engine, this report app. So we know that these applications are funneling into this report app, which is then fueling a lot of things that we do with this billing application, which then we already know upstream to other business process, to other business capabilities. This application is 100% vital to what we're trying to solve. So hopefully everything came across very clear and coherent here. We focused on creating a baseline, an inventory of our applications, focusing on key applications for very specific reasons, monitoring our IT resiliency. And then for me here, what we do is we're throughout this process, we're reimagining our business, and then we can start all over again with readiness and resiliency, and then onward and upward to innovation again. So this concludes today's demonstration. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you very much, Nick, for your demonstration. I think it was very clear. I think it was very well presented. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to go back here for a couple of minutes here on the slide, just to sum up what Nick has showed us and how it relates to the topic that we brought to the table today. At any point, so I see we already have a couple of questions. Do not hesitate to ask more questions right now during the next couple of minutes, and we'll be able to take those questions at the end of the webinar. So the point that is very important with IT portfolio management today is that we want to be able to bring visibility to your IT assets, knowing that when you take decision, it has an impact. Knowing that even though you want to decommission an application that might not be critical for your business, it has a flow maybe to an application which is critical for you. This is very important for us to understand and to bring visibility in that whole IT ecosystem that you have to manage on a day-to-day basis. The second point that was very interesting in your demo, Nick, also was how we can mitigate the technology risk. And to mitigate that, you have to know about it. At first, this is the first point. To know about the life cycle of your technologies, to know about how it relates to your applications, to your SLA of application, to your business capabilities. This is a key point. And of course, to identify your criticality, your critical asset of your company, this is a key point also, not only from just mentioning that this application is critical because you think it is. No, it is critical because it supports a critical process, because it supports a critical business capability, because it supports a strategic objective of the company. This is very important. And last but not least, of course, very important to understand how you showed us, Nick, how we can monitor the key indicators that relates to IT assets during the crisis, to understand at a glance how we can go into OPEX, gather all of this data and show them in a way that will make sense for executive to take decision. This is what we call bringing business value to the table and how EA can bring business-driven architecture to the table. So thank you very much for participating to this webinar. We have a couple of questions that we can address right now. So the first question that I have here is, I see the webinar is being recorded. Yes, will the slide be available later as well? Yes, we can send you also the slides, so you have that. No problem at all for us to share those slides. Other questions that I have received. So let me just get to that. So is Mega available on SaaS? Yes. So we have deployment available for SaaS or on-prem. It depends on your appetite to go on SaaS or on-prem, but we have both availability, and both versions are exactly the same, right? If you buy on SaaS or on-prem, you get the same functionalities. Next question, how can we see which data points are used for an application? Okay, so this is quite interesting to understand because today we were really focused on, I would say, on ITPM. But of course, we also have a full module that is called information architecture that helps us depict data from a dictionary perspective, a logical perspective, and a physical perspective that we can then tie back to the application portfolio. So that at the end of the day, you will have a clear picture of what kind of data do you have, what kind of applications do you have, and what kind of applications are responsible to create, read, update, or delete those data. And this is very key to what we call the golden source or the golden copy of data, but that's something that we can cover in a future webinar. Okay, next question on technologies, I believe. Okay, so how can we maintain technology catalog and server catalog information? So this is quite important for us because for both things that are mentioned in that question, this is something that we can gather or harness from outside of the tool, meaning that for technology lifecycles, for instance, we have a partner called Flexera. Flexera provides us that catalog called Technopedia of all the technologies that can be used in the world. And these technologies basically, they come with lifecycle, with begin date, end and end of support date, if I'm not mistaken. And you can directly use that from this catalog to start your inventory there. And of course, other source of data for servers, for instance, might also be the CMDB. So as we mentioned before, we have a direct connector with ServiceNow. So if you're using ServiceNow or other type of CMDB, of course, we are compatible with others. You might directly plug and play HOPEX to that software and get the information grabbed directly from there. All right, and the last question that I see here, so we are already using a tool for business process. How can we connect that to this tool? Okay, so today we showed you again ITPM, that is our core module for IT posture management, and you saw, I guess that's where the question is originating from, you saw connections to business processes within that module. But of course, in HOPEX, we have a full module to depict business process in BPMN. So you can either switch to HOPEX and use HOPEX for business process management also, and connect it then on the same platform as I displayed to you at the beginning of the demonstration of the presentation. And what you can also do is that at some point, you might also take those information from that third-party tool that handles business process and send that to HOPEX to be managed within HOPEX. So we have both possibilities, and either are good. You can stay within that tool and make a connection with HOPEX, or you can also switch to HOPEX to manage your business processes within our platform. All right, so this was the extent of the question that we had today for this session. Of course, this session has been recorded, and you will get the recording to you to rewatch it if you have some points that you would like to rewatch. And of course, if you have any questions later on, do not hesitate to contact us. Do not hesitate to contact us through our website, through the many channels that we might have, and we will be more than happy to help you and more than happy to go deeper into some of the topics that we have addressed today. So the only thing that will have to do now is to thank you very much for your attention. And I don't know if Elizabeth, you want to conclude the webinar?
That's great. Thank you so much, Yannick. I just want to thank you and Nick for a great presentation, and repeat again, thank you for taking time today, all of our attendees for joining us and listening, and we really appreciate having you. And please take care of yourselves and each other, and we will talk to you very soon. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.